I cannot believe that I'm sitting here introducing the 40th episode of the Flat Earth Fail compilation. The fact I can fill 40 episodes of Flat Earth failure is a testament to them regarding how serious they take failure. Long may they continue to have the stamina to do this. It's not an easy task. This is the Flat Earth Fail compilation 40. Hello all and welcome along to another episode of Flat Earth Friday with me, Simon Dan. Thank you very much for joining me. Before we begin today, a massive thank you to the sponsors of today's video, Fabulous. Do you ever find it hard to rewire your brain and adopt a new routine? Now that can be much easier with a digital coach by your side, encouraging you to achieve your goals through positive reinforcement. The Fabulous app is a digital coach, a happiness trainer if you will, that uses insights from behavioural science to develop habits to ensure that you can live the life that you want. With a community of 30 million plus users around the world, Fabulous makes it easy to develop and stick to healthy habits thanks to science-backed daily routines. As a result, you'll feel healthier, more fulfilled and more productive. And they do this in two ways. Habit tracking, where you can pick among over 100 recommended habits or create your own, and dedicated programs called Journeys, which is a behaviour change program designed specifically to help you achieve your well-being goals. Because I work from home in this job, I do find it difficult to build and stick to daily routines. So I've designed mine all around my running. My morning routine is to eat a great breakfast and drink some water, and then I'll do a 7-day 1-minute stretch challenge at 8 AM. Then I'll do some work before my afternoon routine, which is some focus coaching followed by a power nap. Very important for the ultra runners out there. And with Fabulous Premium, you can build and improve an unlimited number of habits into your routine and take part in all programs and exercises. Start building your ideal daily routine. The first 100 people to click the link in the description will get 25% off a Fabulous subscription. Right, back to today's video, which, as I said at the start, is the 40th edition of the Flat Earth Fail compilation. And we start with old favourite Level Earth Observer, and he's going after the ISS again.
Today we've got an International Space Station scientific demonstration versus common sense and logic. Take it away, fella.
Repurposed from a condiment. And blowing into it, when I displace the fluid with air, it will come up the straw and cover my face.
I'm just pausing the quirky space jazz music for a moment.
I wonder how he's going to explain this.
To take on board this incredible scientific demonstration. And of course, when we're doing that, looking at the background, the so-called environment this fella's doing this scientific demonstration, it becomes quite obvious rather quickly that this is nothing but a charade, because no man in their right mind would be in an environment with kit worth thousands of pounds, computer screens, laptops, joysticks to control who knows what, wiring. No man in their right mind would be in that environment with all that kit that's vulnerable to water, squirting this water all over his face, no doubt to be splashed and go everywhere.
And how would that water get everywhere, Elio? I love how he doesn't explain how that water is flowing out the bottle. I mean, how is that happening?
No one in their right mind would do that. That is, unless, of course, you're trying to sell the lie of the weightless environment, which is what every single NASA scientific demonstration is about. Playing with things, throwing things about, plenty of hairspray, and of course, it's done via augmented reality.
Hang on, augmented reality made it look like this liquid was flowing all over the astronaut's face. He's interacting with that bottle and the liquid in it by blowing air through a straw, pushing that liquid out of the bottle. Augmented reality is good, but not that good.
They use and interact with items that aren't actually there. Microphones, necklaces, gold keys, and of course water being their main one. They love to throw it everywhere to sell this weightless environment lie. And then back, the water supposedly going everywhere in an environment that's incredibly vulnerable to water, and that environment costs thousands and thousands. And yet the cost of payloads to go up to so-called space is ridiculous. Can you see how ridiculous all of this is? There's no way whatsoever you could justify a scientific demonstration like this in those conditions in which they say they're doing it.
Here is a quote from astronaut Clayton C. Anderson on this matter. If you refer to what happens when astronauts play with liquids while living in a near-zero gravitational environment, yes, it is possible for those free-floating liquids to get into sensitive equipment and cause significant damage. While I lived on board the ISS, one of my biggest fears was from shuttle crew members who arrived in space with little to no experience in microgravity. Most loved to play with liquids, yet they didn't really have the experience to pull it off without making a mess or doing damage. The other issue was their desire to always use tropical fruit punch, as its bright red colour made for the best pictures and videos. Well, spilling red punch all over everything leaves many stains that can be a real pain to clean up. So there we go, hope that answers your question, Level Earth Observer.
Unless, of course, you were trying to sell the lie of the whalers' environment, which they always are, with a hairspray for the women, and just chucking things around. Way! And of course, not forgetting the harnesses. These people use multiple different techniques, but there'd be no benefit whatsoever for doing this demo. None other than to sell the lie of the weightless environment. It's obvious. Absolutely obvious at this point in time. And of course, the water here is augmented reality. It's very clever how they do it. They do it with teddy bears, microphones, necklaces, water, caps. It's clever. It glitches out and they have fails. But in this instance, no person in their right mind would do what we've just seen on our screen. You cannot justify it in any shape or form in that environment in which he says he is.
Did the augmented reality make his shirt wet as well? Dear oh dear, Level Earth Observer, this was bad even for you. Next up is Levelling the Playing Field, who is talking about craters on the moon.
We are fed details about the heliocentric model from the time we were children. After a decade of that programming, we just believe it all without questions.
Well, they don't just tell us, there's evidence as well. And some things can be corroborated by you with a telescope in your own back garden.
Not only that, we question anyone denying what we learned. The vast majority will never even try to verify the authenticity of lessons learned. So please follow along as I show small craters and how I can prove the moon is not what we are programmed to believe.
We'll follow along, don't you worry about that.
The first thing I need to do is crop this image so we can look even closer. Let me point out a few small craters. Okay, I will use the one at the yellow arrow. Look at the crater at the arrow. I will put a dot over it the same size as the crater. And then I will see how many of those craters would fit across the diameter of Tycho crater. Okay, we see that 8 craters fit across with space between each one to place a second row of craters. That's another row of 8 craters. That makes 16 craters that fit across the diameter of Tycho crater. 53 miles across divided by 16 equals 3.3 miles. This means I can zoom in on craters 3 miles across from 240,000 miles using my Nikon P1000 camera.
So? I don't understand how this is such a big issue. 3 miles across is still pretty large. The moon's angular diameter is around 31 arc minutes, which is around 0.5 degrees. Now, a 3 mile wide crater is about 0.1% of the full diameter of the full moon, which means this crater has an angular diameter of around 0.005 degrees. Now, the human eye has an angular resolution of about 0.02 degrees. So the human eye would not see this crater. But a Nikon P1000 with its 125 times zoom absolutely would. So there's no issue.
Think about this critically for just a minute. I can zoom in on craters just 3 miles across using my Nikon P1000 camera. Why can't those with the huge telescopes show us the moon landing sites?
Now, you can't use a telescope on Earth with much more than 300 times magnification because of Earth's atmosphere. However, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter has taken several photos of a variety of Apollo landing sites. Here is the landing site of Apollo 11. Look at that, quite amazing. You can actually see the lunar module.
Did you know that NASA in Hebrew means deceiver or beguile? That's not a great name to use unless you're planning to deceive people and want it right in their face.
But NASA is an acronym, not a word. Besides, I'm pretty sure that deceive in Hebrew is a word that sounds like NASA but isn't actually NASA. Hebrew speakers and readers, please correct me on that if I'm wrong.
And they have a serpent's tongue in their logo. Let me show you one more thing that you can do on your own. It will help your mind with critical thinking. I have circled a reservoir in Quebec with a circle 50 miles across using Google Earth. I will show you that it's impossible to see Tycho crater from 240,000 miles away. I will use images that I captured in Google Earth as I used my scroll wheel to move away from Earth. Google Earth only goes to 40,000 miles. Again, I want you to use critical thinking. Google Earth only goes out to 40,000 miles. Look how small Earth looks, and we still have 200,000 miles to go.
But that isn't a view taken with a P1000, is it? Like you just had. That's very similar to a naked eye view.
NASA has been deceiving us since 1958. That was a year before I started school, and I believed without question the first day I saw that globe in the classroom. I became a sci-fi freak, and it took me almost 60 years to wake up. I only woke up because someone told me Earth was flat. If I had ignored that, I would still be a sci-fi freak instead of a truth seeker.
So someone told you that the Earth was flat and you just ran with it. You were like, yeah, no probs, I'll believe that. Dear oh dear, what a fail that is. Okay, let's move on. Only one more fail this month. Only doing 3 this month, and it comes from Jake the Arsehole. And he has the best flat Earth proof that's never been debunked, apparently. Should be interesting. Let's see it.
This flat Earth proof has never been debunked. This flat Earth proof defeats the metabunk curvature calculator created by Mick West. If you're using 8 inches times the mile when you square the mile to determine Earth's curvature, you are using the wrong formula. You see, the Globers use this curvature calculator, and you have to put in your observer height in feet. And when you use this curvature calculator, it gives you a different number than 8 inches times the mile when you square the mile.
Yes, because the 8 inches per mile squared formula is not correct. That is why Mick West's curve calculator works very, very well and takes refraction into account, which, let's be clear, exists.
And so if you're going to do a flat Earth experiment, you're going to have to defeat this curvature calculator if you want the Globers to even consider taking you serious.
Which no one ever does.
Now, I have never seen anyone else defeat this curvature calculator the same way this experiment defeats Metabunk curvature calculator. Now, according to Metabunk, there should be a drop at 30 miles of 635 feet, and we should see hidden approximately 365 feet.
Now that is, of course, if your viewer height of 37 feet is correct. And we have no way of proving this, so we'll just take your word on that one, Jake.
Now, the Rogers Center off in the distance across Lake Ontario, the Rogers Center is 282 feet tall.
Indeed it is.
And we should see hidden at this distance. With a viewer height of 37 feet, we should see hidden 365 feet, which should eclipse the tippity top of the Rogers Center. And we clearly see the Rogers Center across Lake Ontario. While standing upon the shore of New York State, we can see all the way into Canada, 30 miles away. We can see the entire building of the Rogers Center, all of it. It's 282 feet tall, and we should see hidden underneath Earth's curvature 365 feet. However, we clearly not only see
the Toronto skyline, but we see the money shot, the Rogers Centre, and there she is in all her glory.
You've literally debunked yourself with one image. But let's just take a quick step back. Your 365 feet hidden does not take refraction into account. Now let's be clear, your photo is clearly showing refraction. It is there. So it should be more like 297 feet hidden as the curve calculator shows. And yes, the Rogers Centre is 282 feet tall, but Toronto itself is elevated. And the Rogers Centre is built on land that is 107 metres or 351 feet above sea level. So that means taking refraction into account, you would absolutely see the Rogers Centre. But putting all of that aside, the image you just showed there on that last frame, Jake, that has completely debunked you. Look at the CN Tower in both images. Now, why would the CN Tower look lower compared to the skyline in the photo taken further away? Why, Jake? Why? Take all the time you need and then answer me that, buddy. Dear oh dear, that video right there from Jake is exactly what the Flat Earth Fail compilation was created for. What a mess, what a fail, well done, and a really, really good way to finish the 40th edition of the Flat Earth Fail compilation. Well, there we go, another wonderful selection of Flat Earth fails to look at and debunk, of course. What I'm going to do, because it's the 40th edition, I'm going to put a poll on Twitter, and I would like you to vote on whether or not we continue the Flat Earth Fail compilation series. I did this before, I think after episode 10 and after episode 20. I skipped it for episode 30, but we've had 40 Flat Earth Fail compilations now. There probably is still enough videos to do more, but the vote is open. Check my Twitter, vote whether you want to see the Flat Earth Fail compilations every month continuing or whether you don't want to see it continuing. Vote now, link is in the description for my Twitter page. Thank you. Thanks so much for watching today, it truly is appreciated. If you enjoyed it, please do consider subscribing to the channel, and if you really enjoyed it, press the like button too. Just enough time to once again thank Fabulous for sponsoring today's video. Remember, to start building your ideal daily routine, the first 100 of you to click the link in the description will get 25% off a Fabulous subscription. I've been Simon and Dan, have yourselves a great weekend, and I'll see you on Tuesday for 2 brand new tinfoilers. See you then.